1.5 million people have chosen to become teachers here in the U.S. Why would someone want to become a teacher? The number one reason people say they do it is to help young people learn and develop. Beverly Galtner, a former teacher and a school district superintendent, says being a teacher is a real responsibility.
I've always said that I felt that the job of an educator is the third most important job in the world. I think the first is the job of a parent who gives life. I think the second is the job of a physician who can save life. And I think the third is the job of an educator who can shape a life.
But today's public education system is failing our children. It's simply passing them from grade to grade without teaching them the basics like reading and math, treating kids like they're on an assembly line. Dan Quisenberry, head of the Michigan Association of Public School Academies, says education needs to keep up with modern demands.
Used to be if you could get a child somewhere between the 6th, 8th, 9th grade, they could read, write, and do some basic math, they were doing pretty good. In a manufacturing, agrarian economy, that was satisfactory. It's not anymore. We have to have every single child globally competitive. So the expectations have changed for the system, and the system hasn't changed.
There is a real need for change to eliminate dropout factories. Teachers know this, but when some say they seek reforms that will help improve the quality of what students learn, they find a roadblock in their union.
I think a lot of times as a teacher we feel our hands are tied.
That's Mitch Garrett, an 8th grade math teacher in Wakarusa, Indiana. He's been teaching for 8 years. He remembers the first day he walked into a classroom.
Coming in, you have these goals. You want to be the teacher of the year. You want to be, sought after as a professional and respected as a professional among your peers.
Talia Reed is passionate about her job as an 8th grade language arts teacher, also in Wakarusa.
Writing and English were the only things that I was ever very successful at, so I decided English teacher, and so I decided to be an English teacher because I love my content of literature and writing, and it's worked out well for me. I really love my job.
In her first year,
I focused on my content. I wanted to bring my love of literature to other students, and I specifically chose this community and smaller communities because I wanted to be able to focus on teaching literature.
For 3 years, Talia has been a teacher. She sees the difference between a good one and a bad one.
There's lots of room to slack off, to be sloppy, to let things go unnoticed that only you would know about. And so definitely the teachers who want to be effective are the ones who make the conscious effort to do it.
Here you have two people looking to make a difference in the lives of students. They knew they wanted to be teachers, but they had no idea what it would mean to join the teachers union.
I know they bargained for us. I knew that my first year we were kind of pressured into it. Like, we've got this group that's bargaining for your salary, and if you don't want to be part of our union, it's kind of like an affront to us.
Talia says before she ever took a step into the classroom, she was told repeatedly she would have to join the union.
I was told in college by professors, you've got to join the teachers union, you have to join. And everybody just kind of took it, and I really didn't understand why. And I didn't really want to fork over the money, and so I really wanted a reason to do it. I think for a lot of teachers, it's just, that's the conventional wisdom. You become a teacher, you join the teachers union. And I had sort of questioned some of my fellow teachers, why should I join? And they didn't want to discuss it, it was just a thing that you do. And so I decided, well, if I can't think of a reason, I'm not going to join. So I never did join.
Her decision to say no to the union boils down to this.
I didn't feel like I was in a community where I was threatened to, that I needed that legal protection. I felt like I was safe, and I think that I had the background of working in the, the private sector world where you come to work on time, you do what your boss tells you to do, and I never felt like I was going to be sued, so I didn't really understand why, now that I'm a teacher, this would become a problem.
But it did turn into a problem.
This year, I did not join again, and And I was asked, we'd really like to know why. What is it? You don't have to answer. And I gave them a big, long, page-and-a-half email explaining why. And that's it. Thank you very much. We'll leave you alone. But then the next day, the president of our local union was waiting for me at the door. When she came in, she said, "Were you interested in joining the union?" And no. And well, you cannot be on any of the committees this year. I had been on the technology committee and the PL 221 committee, and I felt like I got a lot out of it. Last year, for example, I had brought up a writing program called Criterion Writing, and our principal thought it was great, and we are now using it.
It turns out this is true. In Indiana, a state law says teachers who are not part of the union cannot serve on school committees.
It's just not fair. I have as much to offer as anybody else. I'm a teacher just like she, and so I wrote a letter to the South Bend Tribune.
A bill is expected to be introduced in Indiana to end this practice.
The public is not going to support unions for when they do things like this. They don't have anything against teachers, but they have plenty against teachers' unions. When they're discriminating against somebody, they're telling a teacher that she's not as capable to do her job, she doesn't have as much of a voice in the school.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do. Marjorie Hayward is a special education teacher at Dickinson Elementary School in Grand Rapids, Michigan. All she wants to do is teach.
I guess I was meant to be a teacher, as funny as that sounds. I'm the youngest of 8 kids, and 6 of us are in some kind of service profession, either teacher, social worker, or minister, so I guess it's in my blood.
But she's had to fight the Grand Rapids Education Association.
That complaint stems from negotiations that were occurring in 2008. A contract expired. The district decided not to collect the dues through payroll deduction, and because of that, the Grand Rapids Education Association had to take on that responsibility, to which they did. And they started collecting dues from all of its members.
It took the GREA 18 months to reach a deal. During that time, Marjorie did not pay her dues. Here's why.
In June 18 of 2008, I sent an email to Paul Helder, who was the president and still is the president of GREA, stating that it was time to accept the contract offer made by Grand Rapids Public Schools. I sent this in response to an email that Mr. Helder had sent to all the GREA members, stating that we were, quote, in a war against terrorism, and, quote, that we were fighting for our civil rights. These statements were taken so lightly by our union president that I felt it was time for me to contact him. In an email, which I have a copy of, I suggested that we should sign the contract proposed by the district because of the downward trend of our economy. To me, it felt wrong to be asking for so much more when most people were having to adjust to living with so much less.
Marjorie didn't feel like the union was representing her needs. She made this comparison.
If you contract with a general contractor to do work on your home and it's not done in a timely fashion and it's not done well, you may not pay him or you may not pay all.
A Kent County judge listened to what Marjorie had to say.
Right to work states, they have it totally differently, and I think that, you would end up having more to say about things yourself, but I don't think we're a right to work state.
And because of that, she lost this round and must pay the back dues. But she's considering legal action of her own against the union. As for Mitch, he opted out of the union.
I understand the idea behind it, and it's a good idea, but they've taken it far too far. It's gone a little bit overboard to the effect that, we can't have the bonuses. We can't adjust the pay on our own, or because of our own merit, or because of extra time and hours spent into it. I think it's going to take those after hours. You look at teachers that have been successful. The Ron Clarks, the Jaime Escalantes. They spent time with kids all the time, and they had success because of it.
In Indiana, the governor and the superintendent of public education are pushing for merit pay, a way to reward good teachers.
I just read in our local paper this morning about Dr. Bennett and Mitch Daniels and how now that the Republicans have control, they're really going to try to push through the merit pay. And I think it is, you know, from their standpoint, we need to try something else. The way things are going, it's time to, and I completely understand with that sentiment.
The contracts that the schools have absolutely nothing to do with the wonderful job that the teachers do. They have everything to do with the fact that they didn't die over the summer. I mean, that's the only requirement to getting a raise in public education, is to live through the summer.
The unions say they're looking out for the best interest of their member, but do they consider what's best for students?
I mean, I think that the teachers that are effective deserve to be compensated for it, and those that aren't should either be gone or certainly shouldn't get the same pay increase as those that are effective.
Mike Reno is a former school board member from Rochester, Michigan, who says unions block any efforts to create performance ratings.
My God, you bring up, let's look at a test score, and suddenly we're threatening them, and and there's all this coddling that goes on that you're not allowed to compare the results from one teacher to the next because these teachers aren't the same, and we're not building widgets here. This is not like a business. My response to that is that the schools are a business. I don't care how you want to look at it. We're given $155 million a year to effectively deliver a service.
Good teachers say unions have to stop protecting the bad ones.
And it seems like there was a time and a place for the union, but I don't feel like it's benefiting anybody except bad teachers at this point. I think tenure is something that should also be looked at, perhaps before merit pay. I think, if you can't remove a teacher because he was found passed out drunk, and you can't just get rid of him like that, something's wrong. Something needs to be fixed for sure. I think seniority is very much outdated. I mean, being a teacher is not just showing up, punching the clock, and standing in your line and doing your job all day long.
Teachers in our country must be licensed, and the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics finds that usually means they must have a bachelor's degree and completed an approved teacher education program.
I think I see myself as a professional. I had to earn my degree for this. It's more than just a skill. It's something that I have to continue to educate myself.
I've had teachers say to me, "We are professionals." I don't believe in unions. As I watch this man punch a clock. If you punch a clock, you're a worker.
Talia says people are tired of seeing American students fall behind their international counterparts.
We compare our country's test scores to every other, and we've been hearing this for years, and we're kind of tired of it. And it really is time to do something. I mean, and this is a great opportunity right now. The public is paying attention to it. It seems like people are almost willing to, change teaching as we know it.
But the former National Education Association General Counsel Bob Chanin says the union wants education reforms as long as they don't get in the way of the needs of the adults in the system.
The concern of NEA and its affiliates with closing achievement gaps, reducing dropout rates, improving teacher quality, and the like are unimportant or inappropriate. To the contrary, these are the goals that guide the work we do. But they need not and must not be achieved at the expense of due process, employee rights, and collective bargaining. That simply is too high a price to pay.
Teachers need to be free to do what works to give a child a chance at a good life and a good future.
The core mission in a school is teaching and learning. And in fact, a school could operate without everybody except teachers and students.
This is one of 9 films in the Kids Aren't Cars series. To see them all, go to kidsaren'tcars.com.